Hello and welcome to Navigate Autism with Jane Lynn. I'm your host, Jane Lynn Britton. And today I want to start by talking about flexibility and how important that is to you and your child and to your family. And of course you already know this, and I do too, but I've been reminded of it again very recently when my son has been going through some challenges at home and at school. And the reason I think it was harder for me this time is because he's come a long way. You remember that I homeschooled him, and before I did that, he was virtually in his own world. He would sit in the corner of the room, his eyes fogged over, and I don't even know that he knew I was in the same room with him because his eyes wouldn't look at me. Or he'd run in circles flapping his hands. And then we started the homeschool process, and I learned how to interact and connect with him. And he became more and more social, more in my world, calmer. We experienced so much joy together. And as all of that happened, I transformed. I became calmer, more relaxed, more flexible. And guess what? So did he. And we've been enjoying this really nice relationship. We're both growing. He's still got some challenges, but for the most part, he's been fairly calm and very interactive. And then all of a sudden this week, things have changed. I don't know why. It could be the moon, and parents of children with autism, you know what I mean about that. It could be anything. Maybe his tooth is hurting. I don't really know because he's not very verbal. But what I do know is how I was responding. And I was more anxious, more stressed. I found myself doing what I hate, which is what we all do, which is judge autism and judge ourselves. And when I'm in that place, I'm just not flexible at all. Everything gets to me. I have a short temper. And the end result is my whole family feels it, and especially my son. So it's not helping anybody. What the good thing is that I'm aware of it. And I know that I have tools to get through it. I don't always want to use them because sometimes I just need to be in that place of feeling those emotions. But then when I'm ready, I pull myself out and I say, I need to be more flexible. So for instance, my son has some chores we ask him to do, like take out the garbage. And on a day that he's just not able to do it because he might have a quick temper, and if I ask him to do something, he might bang his hands on the table or wring his hands or try to scratch something. So what I say is, you know what, it doesn't matter, you don't need to do the trash today. And what that tells me, or what I tell myself, is I'm not giving him something or giving in to anything. I'm helping him take care of himself. He's not losing a skill. He's not losing his sense of responsibility. I'm just giving him a break. And don't we all need a break sometimes? I certainly do. So I find myself trying to be more and more flexible. For instance, I am really good at creating time for myself, but not this past week. Every time I would be scheduled or planning to work or spend time with my daughter or do something other than hang out with my son, he would find me and come grab my hand and take me somewhere. And I knew that's what he needed. And so sometimes I would say no if I needed to, but I really tried to be flexible to go with him. And what happened is my flexibility and my ease helped him be more flexible and calm and get through his day. And so I wanted to share that with you because it's very often that we get into our own routine and we're so excited about the progress that we see in our children, and we want to maintain that progress. We want to continue to inspire them to grow, to take responsibility, to be independent. And when we see those moments when they just can't do it, to say it's okay, that it is not that they're regressing or that I'm doing anything wrong or they're doing anything wrong. Let's just all be flexible. And I'm going to show you a different way of being flexible a little bit later because I like to demonstrate some games and activities, as you know, and I'm going to show you how I use flexibility in that way as well. While I was going through this week, I was really relying on the support of people that I could talk to, vent to, and seek information. And that made me think of the guests that I have here with me today, because they have formed a Facebook group that is very popular, and parents are excited to join because they're getting that resource, other parents to talk to and to share information with. So I'd like to welcome to our show Karen Menser and Stephanie Moore. They have created the Facebook group Mercer County Autism Parents of New Jersey. Thank you. I wanted to make sure I get that right because I want to tell other parents that they could possibly join this amazing Facebook group. And I want to tell you that it's helped me, and I see every day new people joining. So I know that the word is getting out there, and hopefully we can spread that word even more because it is a great resource. And I want to ask you first, before we talk more about that, let's get to know you a little bit more. So what is your story, and how does autism fit into that story? So Karen, let's start with you.
Well, my son is 6 years old now, and he was diagnosed about 3 weeks before his 3rd birthday. And as you know, that's very tough. I didn't really have anybody to talk to at the time. The hospital kind of diagnoses your child and pushes you out the door with no resources at all. So I started going online and looking for things, and the terror of looking at Google, you find everything. So I started looking for support groups, and when I found them, they were all over New Jersey, which was a wonderful thing, and they helped me a lot. But they were based all over New Jersey, so I knew I can talk to these people, but they're all over the place. I might not ever meet them. So that kind of drove us to the page, like for a general area of Mercer.
Wonderful. And so you said you have a son now who's 6. Do you have any other children?
I have a daughter. She's 5, just turned 5, and she's typical. Loves her brother very much, helps him all she can, but she also wonders why he can't talk to her, can't play with her. It's very hard on the siblings, too.
Right, that's definitely true.
And causes more stress for us because we don't know which way to go.
You want to help both of them,
yes,
right?
Yes.
Individually and together, to have that family unit
yes.
where you all love each other and are strong.
And they're completely different, so it's very hard.
Well, you've already shown us you're a strong mother, and we're really glad that you're here with us, so thank you.
Thank you.
And Stephanie, so what's your story?
Well, I have a son. His name is Brody, and he's 7. And he was diagnosed with autism when he was about 2.5. And as soon as I learned about that, I had to start advocating for him and figuring out what he needed, what groups are out there, what supports, what do we have to do next? And it becomes very overwhelming, and you feel a little bit alone in that. And I've learned how to not be alone, and a big part of that is the group and meeting Karen and her starting everything. So, but each day is a learning experience. And once you think things are the same, and they're going good, something changes. So you need to learn, and the only way to really learn about all of that is through the support of other parents. So in order to do that, I go to the group and I let everything out that I need to let out and look for everything that I need at that moment to make it through my day.
I love that you said that you let it all out, because I see that a lot, and what that means is it's a very safe group, right? It's a safe place where people can be vulnerable and get love and support. Because I think I met you in February, so it's been maybe 4 or 5 months, and I've seen a lot of outpouring of, I've had this problem, I've had a really horrible day, and it's not always give me help, it's just let me vent. And the response is always, I hear you, I love you, I'm with you. And sometimes, I have this, have you tried it, right? So that's important, because we don't always have that, or feel like we have a safe space from people who get it, right?
Yeah, there's no judgment. There's no judgment. You can just let it all out, because we've all been there at some point, or at least somebody has, and we can all feel that, and you know that it's okay to have those feelings and to just let it out. And that makes you a better person, and for your child, and to get through your day and to help them get through their day.
Exactly. So how did you two meet?
My son started in Hoosier School, and Brody was there, and
Yeah.
she was actually the first mother to come up to me and introduce herself. So, been friends since.
Yeah. Be outside every
I knew
morning.
nothing, so she started to help me, and that was my comfort.
Right. And you've already talked a little bit about this, but what was it that inspired you to form this group? And this is not just a group that you put on Facebook and you don't monitor. You're there all the time,
Mhm.
and putting links and information, and it's like a full-time job. I mean, it is a full-time job. So what inspired you to do that?
Well, I'm a stay-at-home mom, so I have the time when the kids are in school to check everything and add stuff, like you said. We just wanted to support other people, and we wanted to support ourselves. It felt like me and her for the longest time,
Yeah.
and we were both at home bringing our kids to school. You don't meet many mothers that way because some of the kids are on the bus or they're already in the classroom. So we met up every day. We started going to have coffee and drinking, or, having breakfast together, venting. And then it just, after a while, we were like, is it just me and you? Because it doesn't feel like anybody over here has an autistic child but us.
Mhm.
So we
Yeah.
went online, and
This is
And the
what
rest
we
is
do.
history, right? Right.
pretty much.
Yeah.
Well, the way I met you is I came to Pump It Up, the bounce around place in
Mhm.
Hamilton, and I was actually coming to check out the special needs jump around, or whatever they call it,
Yeah.
because was thinking about doing something similar that you had already done. So I was really happy that you'd already done it. But there must have been 20 families or more
Yeah.
that came. So
Mhm.
how have they found you? What are you doing to kind of promote this?
We have cards made, and we lay them around in the area. I put them in the doctor's offices and dentists, restaurants,
Yeah.
everywhere. She brings them to the libraries. At the schools, we ask the teachers to give them out because they have the special needs classes. They put them in the folders for the other children's moms.
That's wonderful.
Yeah, it's all word of mouth and just getting it out there, telling, our members, if you know somebody, have them join, have them have the support that we have. Tell people, let them know, and, let us become a larger group so we have a huge support system all over Mercer County and outside, so we can get together, so we can talk about a variety of things. And we have a variety of age groups on the page. So this way families have that support at whatever age their child's at. And, some of the families that have older children can help with the younger children and what they need to go through. And you see that often on the page.
That is wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
And so if a family wants to join, how do they do that?
They put in a request. They can search for us. Looking up autism, we pop up in a search box. And then they put in a request to join. But her and I hate to say it, but we research first because we want to keep it a safe place for the parents.
Right.
Yes.
So we look to see if they're actually from the area, if they have an autistic child. We ask them questions when they join. How did you hear about us? Do you have an autistic child? Do they attend school in Mercer County? There's all kinds of questions that go with it. And we wait for a response. If we don't get one, we
Right.
just leave it there till we do.
Yep.
Okay.
But-
Well, it's good to have that
Yes.
kind of like process to go through, because like you say, you have created this really safe place. And I know that parents and grandparents, or caregivers, if there's not parents, like the true parents.
Yeah.
And I know I recently had a question, so let's share this. I'll see people say, hey, do you know of a great dentist or a great speech therapist?
Mhm.
And I thought, well, maybe we should invite them to the group, but it's really close to the parent. So how would maybe a speech therapist or someone who wanted to say, hey, I'm available if you'd like to reach out to me, how would they make that known?
Well, we have the parents and grandparents only to keep it private, so for venting reasons, and we don't want to offend anybody that's not on the page. But if they have any kind of flyers or resources, I ask them to send it privately to me, and then I'll post it on the page. This way, the parents still feel comfortable. They're not going to talk about a speech therapist that they didn't like if they're on the page.
Right. That makes a
So,
lot of sense.
yes.
It really keeps it safe.
Yeah, it's privacy because everybody is so different, and
Right.
and who they like and who they don't like and what works for their child. And we want to have that safe space for them to be able to say, this didn't work for me and I need something different. But also to tell parents, because maybe they should know, maybe that person is not as wonderful as we think or might want to go to, and it'll help some families avoid that speed bump. since we
Right.
have lots to go over.
Right, that's true. But I like too that you post, like you said, the flyers, and sometimes there's an event coming up, or someone will say, "Hey, I would like to invite your families to this. We're doing a sensory, I don't know, movie or something of that nature," and they go up all the time. I think you're on there literally around the clock, posting so many activities locally, which is great. So you have your finger on the pulse of what's going on in Mercer County, and you're sharing that so people know where they can go. And that's specifically for children with autism, so that there's that extra consideration put into the planning, and hopefully less music or loud noise. But in addition to that, you create your own activities. So tell us some of the things that you do.
Well, we work closely with the YMCA program and the SCORE program, which is for special needs children. We go through their activities and find out what's going on, posted to the page, like you said. We also work with Special Olympics and find out what they're doing and post it to the page. But then we also have family dinner nights like we just had the other night. She mostly does that, the arranging and everything. We pick a spot that the parents can have kid food. Our kids are very picky eaters.
Sure.
So we go look at the menu. We get all the corners are looked at first.
Make sure it's a safe space for the
Yes.
families, that it's, a lot of times we like to have a private room. It's much easier for the families, so you know that your child is contained, you're in a safe space for yourself, there's no one else around. A lot of families have a hard time, and that was a big point of doing a family dinner night. They feel very uncomfortable going out. Some people are not quite comfortable with the stares and the things that they get. It's difficult, no matter how much you let it roll off, it's difficult. So we want to put them in a place where they don't have to worry about that. And they can be how they want to be, and their child can just be themselves as well. And then our children get to know one another, and they can form bonds, and it just gives them that place. So that's one of the things that we do with the family dinner nights, and we've been trying to create something to do different moms night out. We did one party that we made some jewelry, so we did that. So we're trying to work on those things and just get families together and get the parents out for the evening, just so we can relax and have a place for the kids to relax and have fun.
That's really nice, because we do need to take care of ourselves as
Yes.
parents, right? So that
Yes.
I forget that a lot.
Yes.
we do, so that we can continue to show up, as I said earlier, in the way we want to for our kids. What's been the biggest learning for you in doing this process?
Well, for me, it's been that there are a lot of families that I can reach out to for so much, more than I even imagined. So there's always a resource. No matter what I post, somebody comes back with something or some type of guidance, or you think you have been the only one that this has ever happened to, and someone will come right back and say, nope, just happened to me 5 minutes ago. So you just don't feel so alone. And that it's made a huge impact on my life.
You have support, and
Yeah.
it's funny, like you would think that we wouldn't have these thoughts, that it's just me, my situation is different, but we do. We feel like no one can possibly understand, and when you hear someone does, it just relaxes you. There's a little bit less anxiety. You're still, not where you want to be sometimes, but just knowing you have a tribe or people who get it is really important. And now I wanted to ask you though, Karen, I seem to recall you talking a little bit about some advocacy, either interest, or you had some experience where you were sharing some thoughts about, I don't know, IEP or different other advocates who are trying to promote themselves to our members, your members in the group. What's your background with that, and why are you so passionate? And it's wonderful. I'm just curious how you got to be so passionate about that.
Well, I had an advocate for my son who charged me a lot of money and didn't pull through when I needed her. And then I seen other parents talking, how is this person? So, of course, I told them. I mean, we don't really mention names if we don't have to. But then I had a wonderful advocate help me, and she pulled him through. I just got him out of district, actually. It was a long, hard fight. She brought me all the way up to mediation, and I love her for it. But I met her through special needs networking and the school, and she's one of our wonderful people on the page. So I'm very my son's been through a lot during the last school year. He had a really rough year. He's actually very stressed right now in his new school, and I'm very passionate about helping him. I mean, he's my baby. And,
Right.
You know.
Definitely. And the reason I mention that is because I just, when I think of you, I do think really advocate, I mean, both of you. But that was a little bit more specific in the school system, which is not something I do. They think navigate autism, you're going to help me navigate the schools and the IEPs and things, and that's not my skills or expertise, but I feel like it's more of yours, which it's more you are passionate about it, using your own experience and guiding others. And I think that's wonderful because it's such a challenging web, really,
Yes.
in the system. And as much as we can help each other do that in a free, comfortable space, the more we're going to get out of it.
When you see a parent that's just starting to have all these emotions and what do I do, and you've already been through that, I want to help them because I know at times I didn't have anybody, and like you said, it's you feel all alone, you don't know where to turn, and hey, I've been through this, let me help you, you know.
And just that small bit of information that you get from one another can lead you down such a path to get the things that you need for your child. And the best resource is a parent. That's what I've found so far. And just posting, say, I have this, and this is going on with school, and they're telling me I can't do this, that, and another parent will come on and say, no, you can, and this is how you do it. There's your resource right there because no one else is going to tell you.
Oh, that's true. Many times. You're so right about that. Well, just like you, I love sharing information. That's really why I started Navigate Autism with Jane Lynn. And part of my experience, as you know, is homeschooling my son and doing thousands of games. So would you join me in showing, I want to share an interactive game that parents could do with their kids. Would you join me?
Sure.
Thank you. So, Stephanie, I'm going to ask you to hold, actually, let me take the top 3.
Okay.
Sorry. I'm going to ask you to hold that.
Sure.
And Karen, if you'll hold the dice, and we're going to stand up so we can demonstrate this game. All right, so I like to create social situations to teach my son, taking turns and how to do things that kids his age would do, but I also do it in a flexible way. One of the things is a board game. And I would eventually like to sit down with a board game and say, this is what your friends are doing, let's play it like this. But just to jump into that might not be ready. So I've created these board games that are fun and go with his motivations and are flexible and creative. So I'm going to let you, Stephanie, start with, we're going to create the board.
Okay.
But the board is different.
Okay.
It's these pieces of paper that we're going to put on the floor, however you want to do it. So go ahead, please.
Okay.
Any pattern will do. And as you're placing, I'll just narrate. This is something you can have set up with your child, or you can do it together. I love when my son is available and able to get him to help me because it shows he's taking a role, but he's showing me his interest of where to put it, right? And it can change every time. And the ones you put down are white, and so they can be whatever you want. They can be blank, or you can have different things that you do when you arrive at each place. So if you're thinking a Monopoly board game, any other board game, you roll, you land, and you do something. One of the things, just as an example, I have is wave hello, because my son isn't always talking. So I would say, how can you participate? And maybe there was a time we were teaching gestures. So we say, wave hello. You can do that. And if I landed on it, I would do it. So Stephanie, I'll ask you just to put this down for me, wherever you want to.
Sure.
And thank you. Another one is, let's say your child is verbal, you're working on math skills, count to 3. Or you could do 2 + 2 is 4. Whatever you want to do. But this brings it a little bit different, higher element, and you can make it age appropriate if that's what you're working on. And just one more example. You can come up with many different ones. But there was a time when my son, I realized, was not able to open an envelope, which is good for your hands, right? So I made a game, something like this, where there was something really fun inside. And this was the piece that we would open, and it says open just because I believe he can read.
Mhm.
It's like, surprise!
Oh.
So I would, and then, this is a lot for some kids to open, reach in, pull out, and then I would come up with a surprise. It could be a tickle or a food item. I try not to use food. Or we're going to go play with water balloons or something. Or another turn. So the surprise would be whatever the child, my son, was interested in. I'm not going to put this inside because it might take too long.
Okay.
I'll let you put that down. Thank you. All right, so now that we have the board, the next thing you normally do is get a pawn or something that you move around. And I like to just grab things around the house. It doesn't, so again, being flexible, and it's fun. You can grab a spatula. You can grab, we actually had an extra doorknob. So I grabbed a doorknob. Sometimes I use myself. And this is really fun because then you get your child to move.
Right.
And there was a time William, as you heard me say, would just sit in the corner, and I was trying to get him up. Let's do something together. So rolling dice, and then he would be the one moving, and I would move. And then the other piece to the game is the dice. And we have a regular one here. Thank you for holding that. So just a regular dice, and this is still kind of big, but you could roll it. But my son didn't even want to touch a dice for a while. So we're like, how can I make this really fun? And that's when we came up with the idea of taking a box and just wrapping it with paper and you could write numbers on it. We just put some dots, and he helped us make it. So I felt like he wouldn't touch it, but if he made it, he would touch it. And it's so fun, right? I mean, do you think it's fun? Right? And so you can roll it, and we would do it like really big, and we would throw it really high and let it roll, and then take the steps and move ourselves around the game. So is this something you think that you could do?
Sure.
Right?
Yeah, absolutely. It'll engage my son, and he'd love to throw it up in the air, and he'd love it. So to just get him engaged in any way is a lot of fun.
Yeah, I think so too. So thanks for saying yes. We didn't plan that. But I have a lot of fun, and I think it just shows, taking your mind outside of the traditional board game, being creative and flexible, and however it goes. I mean, it took us like a week to get this made because he didn't really want to do it. But we just kept being persistent and having fun with it. And then as we built to it, we actually got to play the game. Yeah. So thank you for helping me. And thank you again for joining and sharing all this amazing information about the Facebook group, Mercer County Autism Parents of New Jersey. I love that. And for anyone who wants to join and sign up, I know that they will. It's a great resource group. You both are very proactive and dynamic and have created such an amazing space for parents just to get support, and to communicate. So thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you for having us.
You're welcome.